I got my letter, did you? Hey guys, welcome to Faith Works Designs. I'm Faith, and today we're going to be doing the acceptance wallet, the acceptance letter wallet. This one was a lot of love and a lot of time to make a wallet pattern. I normally do purse patterns, but I just wanted to try something different. We have, well, let me show you. First of all, we have our school emblem. And then on the back we have our little to Mr. Poulter, or to yours truly. On the inside we have 12 credit card slots, and wallets are just hard to show, so I'm sorry. We have 12 credit card slots. We have a slip pocket back here. We have a slip pocket behind our other set of credit cards. And then on the inside we have our ticket to the Hogwarts Express. And the hardware on this one is amazing because I don't know why, but I just happen to love the stamps. Hopefully you guys can see that. I really love the stamps on these things. They really look really nice. This is what we're going to be doing today, so without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so when you get your acceptance letter wallet, it's going to come inside of this panel. If you were to get, say, pebble for your outside fabric, it's going to come inside of this. So you're going to have one outer piece, and then all of your lining and your hardware. You're going to need one magnetic snap and then one zipper. I'm going to go ahead and cut all these out, and I'm going to have to give you measurements for some of these and make sure that they're right for putting everything together. What I like to do is kind of rough cut everything out so that it's a little bit easier to work with, just because there's so much on this panel, and that way I can kind of break up the pieces. Take your main panel lining and set this aside. We're going to work on this and then our outside fabric together, because we've got to do an extra step for this one. Alright, so these are our little side pieces. They need to measure 1.5 wide by 5 long. And sometimes they might be printed a little janky. It just depends on how you iron them onto your interfacing. But just make sure that they're 1.5 by 5. So now we're going to do the zipper pouch, and it's going to measure 4 by 7.5. And you're going to do that for your outside fabric and your lining fabric. Alright, now we've got our little behind flaps pieces. They're going to measure 5.5 tall by 9 3/4 wide. Alright, now we're doing the card slots. They are going to be 8 inches wide by 15. Alright, lastly we have these little guys, and you are on your own with that. They are the right size. Just go ahead and just cut them out how they are. Alright, now we're going to be working on the card slots themselves. So what you're going to need is a regular ruler, some sort of marking tool that won't show through to the outside of your fabric. I've got my fabric all interfaced with Pellon 950F. I also have what I like to call my card slot ruler, because I'm using it all the time when I'm turning things back and forth. It's nice and thin, and I can fold them really easily. Alright, so our first mark, so I'm left-handed, so I always tend to do everything backwards. If you're right-handed, you can just swap it around. But this is going to be the top of my card slots on this side. Your very first measurement that we're going to do is 2.5 inches. So I'm going to line up my ruler at 2.5 with the edge of my fabric. The next mark that I'm going to make is 1 3/4. So at this mark, I'm going to measure 1 3/4 this way. Then at this mark, I'm going to measure 2 1/4 this way. Then at the next mark, I'm going to measure 1 3/4. Yeah, 1 3/4 this way. Then from this mark, I'm going to measure over 2 1/4. Then from that mark, I'm going to measure 1 3/4. And that's it. So from the top, we've got 2.5, 1 3/4, 2 1/4, 1 3/4, 2 1/4, 1 3/4. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this and turn it right sides to us. And then I'm going to find the very first mark and I'm going to fold it at that line, making sure that I'm straight across here, but I'm also staying nice and straight this way. Take your fingers and finger press that, and then I'm going to fold it over this way. So my fold is on this side. Again, I'm left-handed, so this is how I do things. Alright, then I'm going to take this next mark right here, and I'm going to line up my ruler without it wobbling. At that mark, I'm going to hold down my ruler and take the tail of my fabric and fold it over like that, and then finger press it. Then I'm going to take the tail of my fabric and find the next mark right there, and I'm going to fold down my fabric on that mark and then finger press it. I'm going to slip my ruler out, then I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to find the very next mark, hold down my ruler, take my tail, fold it over, finger press it, take my tail, find the very next mark, and fold my fabric. And then pull out my ruler, find the next mark, and then fold my fabric over like this. Then I'm going to grab a couple of clips. I'm going to pull my ruler out, and I'm going to hold those down with that clip. And then I'm going to go get my other panel and I'm going to do the exact same thing. Alright, so we're going to take all of our card slots, and I'm sorry about the sound in the back, but it's going to be a hot one, so I'm keeping the air going. We're going to take our card slots and we're going to take this very top piece and we're going to fold it back, and we're going to top stitch each row of our card slots. Very simple. I figured you guys would know how to do this, and I can just fast forward. Alright, so I took these back to my desk really quickly and just wanted to make sure they were measuring 5 inches tall, because we need them to measure 5 inches tall. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to base stitch both sides down so that they stay at that measurement. Next thing that we're going to do is grab our pieces that are 1.5 by 5 inches long, and we're going to put them right side to right side like that, and we're going to sew 1/4 inch to sew them together. I've got my stitch length at a 2.5, and I meant to tell you guys earlier I have a 14 needle in my machine. I'm trying to use something a little bit smaller because I'm using cotton, or I'm sewing cotton, and my machine kind of wants to eat cotton for breakfast, so she's a beast. But if I need her to sew through some major layers, she can do it. Alright, so we've got both side pieces on. I'm going to change my stitch length to a 4. We're going to pull these back and then just top stitch 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. Alright, so we're going to need to find the center of our card slot so that we can make a line down it to separate so that we have 6 card slots on the one panel. So what I had to do, because its measurement is 9 3/4, it's a little odd measurement to try and find the center. So what I had to do was take the card slots themselves, find the center top, and then I kind of creased it with my fingers, and then take the bottom and do the same exact thing. Crease it with my fingers, and then I took my ruler and I kind of joined those two up. Sorry, I gotta do it so I can see. And then I'm just gonna make a really light mark all the way up. And then you're gonna take that to your sewing machine. And I went ahead and did the 2.5 like I did across each of the card slots just so that it looked a little bit nicer together. But you can do a 4, it's up to you. So make sure that you go ahead and sew down the center of both of your card slots. Alright, so we got both of our card slots done. They have their center mark right there. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take both of our panels and we're going to put them so that the tops are on the outsides and the bottoms are meeting. Hopefully that makes sense. You should have top on one of yours if that'll help you, so that your card slot should be going in this way and then going in that way. Alright, we're going to put these right sides together, and along the bottoms we're going to sew them together at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. I've got my stitch length at a 2.5. Now I'm going to take this to my ironing board and I'm going to iron this seam open just so that it'll lay a little bit flatter when we go to do the next bit. Alright, so I took this to my ironing board and I went ahead and just kind of pressed it open so that this will lay really nice and flat when we go to do the next couple of steps. The next thing that you're going to need to do is you're going to need to grab our little side flaps. I don't know what else to call these, but they're going to be our little side flaps, and you should have 8. I went ahead and matched all of them up so I could show you guys. You're going to have this upper round corner, and then you're going to have this lower. That is going to be your top and your bottom. You're going to have a side that's a little straighter, and then a side that kind of curves just a little bit. It's a little difficult to match them up, so if you're having a hard time, it's okay. We just want to make sure that when we match these up, one side is going to stay open and one side is going to get sewn. So let me show you guys how this is going to work. We're going to, let's see, that's my straight side, so that needs to be open. We're going to sew like this, down and around that, around that bump. So just like that. We're going to need to leave one side open so that we can turn this inside out. But we're going to start at the top, go down and around. Alright, so we've got all of our pieces turned inside out and then pressed nice and flat. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take the card slots that you made and you're going to measure 1 inch down and then start placing your side flaps. So the way that they need to be laid on there, and I'm hoping that you can see what I'm doing. Alright, the way that they need to be on there is like this, with the short end this way and then kind of coming out this way. The one that is across from it needs to be doing the same thing, flapping out this way, going in this way. Now on the bottom, turn it around and you're going to make the same thing happen. So your edge is coming out this way and going down. They need to be flapped out like that. So I'm going to take this one and I am going to find where the inch is, and so that it looks like that. I'm going to clip this in place. Take this to the sewing machine and we're going to base stitch down the sides just so that they'll stay in place. Alright, so we've got everything all base stitched together. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to grab our slip pocket card slot panels. So you should have 2 of these. What we're going to do is we're going to flip it over onto the wrong side, and then you're going to make a mark on one end 1 inch up. We're going to take this to our ironing board, and what you need to do is take this end and meet up with that 1 inch line and then press this just like that all the way across. Do that for both of these. Alright, so I've got both of my panels so that the bottom end is flipped up to the inch mark. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and grab my card slots. The end that's not folded back, this top edge right here, is going to match up with the top edge of my card slots. So I'm going to clip those in place. We're going to sew these together at a 1/4 inch seam allowance across the very top. We're going to do that for both sides. We're just sewing across the top. Alright, I've got my stitch length at a 2.5. I'm going to be stitching a 1/4 inch from the top. Once you have your sides on, we're going to take one side at a time and finger press our top panel back, fold it under, and then we're going to top stitch across it. I'm going to lengthen my stitch length to a 4. Alright, so your card slots are all done. We're going to set this aside for just a minute. All of this stuff will make sense in a little bit, but we're going to put it aside for right now. Alright, so we've got our 2 outer panels. You're going to have a different lining. This is, again, it's just a tester. I always get the testers. So your lining is going to be a little bit different. You are going to have 2 by 2 zipper tabs. You're going to need a 6-inch zipper, and then you're going to need a zipper pull. And Kim and Alex sent me this one to show you guys, and I think it's really cool. It goes really well with the outside magnetic snap. Alright, so I am going to put my zipper on my zipper tape. Okay, like so. I'm using rose gold because the inside of the magnetic snap, it was easy to say, the magnets themselves are rose gold. So make sure that you pay attention to that. You're going to need something that all matches. So I picked rose gold for that. Then I'm going to take my zipper tabs, I'm going to fold them in half, and then I'm going to press, open it up, fold to the middle, fold to the center, and then fold over on itself so that I made bias tape. basically. And then I'm going to do that on both ends, and then just sew 1/8 of an inch across here so that my zipper tabs are connected to my zipper. Alright, so I have got my zipper tabs on. Next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take my zipper tab, or my zipper, and I am going to take it and put it right sides to the right side of one of my outer panels. You're just going to have to kind of eyeball it and make sure that it's centered. You can do, you can make a mark or a notch or something in the center of both the outer panel and the zipper, or you can just kind of eyeball it. Now, normally I would tell you to go ahead and base stitch this in place, but I'm going to go ahead and take my lining and I'm going to add it to my zipper sandwich. Alright, so my memory card filled up and I'm not sure if you guys got all of that. So, your outside panel needs to be right side to the right side of your zipper, and then your lining panel needs to be right side to the wrong side of your zipper. Now we are going to be sewing 1/4 of an inch seam allowance with a 2.5 stitch length. Then I'm going to change my stitch length to a 4 and pull these away from each other. And I'm going to top stitch across the zipper. So I sewed 1/8 of an inch away from the edge of the zipper. Now we need to grab our other outer panel and our other lining panel. Now we're going to line these up so that the edges of our right side of our fabric is on the edge here. And again, you can make a notch and then match them all up. You could also go ahead and just base stitch this down. I'm going to go ahead and add my lining and sew them together. And then change your stitch length back to a 2.5. Sewing at 1/4 of an inch. Alright, so I'm going to pull the outside fabric and the lining fabric away from the zipper. And I'm just going to finger press that down. Then I have switched my stitch length back to a 4. And I'm going to top stitch 1/8 of an inch away from the zipper. Ta-da! That's what it should look like. Alright, next thing that we're going to do is we're going to open our zipper up so we can turn it inside out. We're going to grab our front 2 panels. We're going to put them right sides together. And then grab our lining panel and put them right sides together along the bottom edge. Then I'm going to come over here to the middle. So your zipper is going to want to like pull towards your lining. So I don't know if you can see that or not, but when you squish it like that, the zipper tab itself should be going in towards the lining, not out towards the outer fabric. And I'm going to do that on both sides, making sure the zipper tab is going into the lining. Now when we start to sew this, you're going to need to leave a hole opening right here along your lining, but we're going to sew all the way around at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. I'm going to switch my stitch length back to a 2.5. before you turn this inside out, you might want to go ahead and take your scissors and just kind of snip in all 4 edges, just so that it turns inside out a little easier. Now I'm going to open up my lining and go ahead and get all those corners first, and then turn this inside out. Now it should look like that. We're going to take the very tops of our lining that we need to close and fold it in 1/4 of an inch. And then we're just going to sew across that and close this up. Pull your threads through, burn your ends, and then push your lining into the inside of this, making sure everything is nice and flush on the corners, because we're going to be using our sides here to sew our side panels in together. I'll explain it in a second. Alright, so I'm going to start working on my very front panel. I went ahead and cut it out and get it ready to go. I'm going to flip it over, and then I'm going to grab some of my Decovil Light, and I like to use this as a stabilizer when I use the Pebble vinyl. I like to use this as a stabilizer. So I'm going to be cutting my Decovil Light 1/4 of an inch shorter than my actual panel. So I am just going to kind of freehand 1/4 of an inch all the way around, and then I'll take my scissors, cut this out, and then take it to the ironing board and adhere my interfacing. Alright, I've got my main panel, my Decovil Light interface. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to grab some of this one-sided interfacing. It's kind of like a stiffer, I don't even know. It's just a stiffer interfacing. I will try and remember to link it down below, but you can get it pretty much anywhere, Joann's or whatever. Alright, so we're going to take our outside panel and we're going to trace it. This is going to go on the inside of the wallet just to make it a little stiffer and not be so flimsy. So this is one that I made without it, and it's really, really like flimsy. So we're going to put this on the inside so that it'll be nice and sturdy, and it'll have a nice body to it. So trace around that, and then before you cut it out, we are going to take our ruler, and I'm going to take out 1/2 inch all the way around, because it's going to be too big. We're going to be kind of stuffing this in there, and if I do it as it is, it's just going to be way, way, way too big. Alright, go ahead and cut that out and set it aside. Then I'm going to grab my main lining piece. I'm going to take my template for my outside fabric, and I am going to center it as best I can. And I'm going to use this as a template for my lining. Alright, let me go cut that out, and then we'll go to the next step. Alright, so I was making some taco wallets, and I didn't need the one-sided interfacing that actually had the interfacing stuff on it. So, which, by the way, if you wanted a taco wallet and you wanted the pattern, it's coming. We are working on it right now, as a matter of fact. So hopefully that'll be at K&A Exclusives coming up hopefully soon. So I need this to attach to my lining fabric so that I can go ahead and put my magnet and everything on. So I went ahead and I grabbed some double-sided tape, and I'm not going to put it on the top because you're going to be able to see it on the top of the inside, and because this is kind of thin, so I didn't want it to show up too bad. So I put it down here, and that should be, fingers crossed, enough to keep it where I need it. If you get the one-sided interfacing, get it so that it actually like adheres, because that will save your life. and a lot of frustration. Alright, so I am just going to press that down like so. And I made mine a little bit bigger up here. Hopefully it'll get caught in my seams. We'll see. But I tried to make it a 1/4 inch shorter all the way around. I think I made it a little extra 1/4 inch. Alright, now that we have got our one-sided interfacing attached to our lining panel, we're going to do something you guys are probably going to think is a little nuts. And that's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler and I am going to measure up 5 inches. And I'm going to make sure this is straight. And then what I'm going to do, 6-ish inch mark right here. Now, this is going to tear my nerves up more than it is yours. What we're going to do is I am going to take my seam ripper and I'm going to open up both my lining and my interfacing. This is how we're going to turn everything inside out, because I hate it when you put a lining together and then you kind of have to leave a hole to turn it, and then for some reason every time I top stitch and turn it around it looks good. This one spot where you leave to turn it in looks like poo. So I am going to turn everything in through a little secret tunnel that I've got hidden underneath of my card slots, which we will close up later on. Alright, now that that's done, we're going to grab our card slots. We're going to measure down about 3/4 of an inch. So 3/4 of an inch on this side. We're going to lay our card slots down like that, and I am going to clip them together. I'm going to take this to the sewing machine real quick and just base stitch along my sides. So along this side and then along this side. Alright, so I have base stitched all both sides down so that our card slots are connected to our panel. You can see our little hole in there. Alright, next thing that we're going to do, grab our outside panel. We're going to put right sides together. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to sew both panels together all the way around. So let's go do that. Alright, I've got my stitch length at 3, and I'm sewing 1/4 inch all the way around. Alright, so I sewed all the way around. I went ahead and used pinking shears around the top, and then I made little clips at the bottom, and then right here at the corner I just kind of cut that, so hopefully it'll turn a little bit easier. Who's ready to ride the struggle bus? What you're going to need to do is you're going to need to grab your lining fabric and then your one-sided interfacing, and we're going to reach through and start pulling this inside out. So I'm just going to start with my corners and grabbing my one-sided interfacing and just kind of pushing it through that hole. Be careful, we do not want to rip our lining any more than we have to. Hopefully a 6-inch hole will work. Alright, I bet it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Alright, there we go. You just take your hand on the inside and just kind of straighten things out. My card slots ended up being on the outside, but that's not a problem. You can just flip the card slots to the right side. Alright, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Yay! Love it when a plan works out. Alright, now I'm going to stick my hand back up here and just kind of punch out all those corners. Straighten up your one-sided interfacing on the inside so that it's laying nice and flat. And there you go. You're done. No, just kidding. Alright, the next thing that we need to do is we need to do the top stitching. When we top stitch, we're going to make sure that these flaps stay out of our way. We want them to stay off to the side, so we're not top stitching them down like that. We're going to be top stitching around. So I'm going to straighten this up and make sure that I'm straight before we move on to the next step. And then I'm just going to kind of make some clips around here just to make sure that it's laying nice and flat for me. After I do that, I'll take you to the sewing machine. We're going to top stitch all the way around this, and then we're going to add our magnets. Alright, so I have got my stitch length at a 4. I went ahead and I changed my needle out to an 18 because if I use a 14, it's going to break. It is what it is. So I'm just going to go around at an 1/8 of an inch all the way around with my 4 stitch length. Alright, so we're going to put our magnet on now. When you get it, it's going to be all put together. I went ahead and took everything apart. You just unscrew the screws from the back, and that way your front and your back is separated. If you look on the back of your magnet cap, you're going to have these little spokes that are kind of standing up like that. When you're working with any kind of vinyl, this helps because what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this down into my vinyl, and then it'll leave some marks in my vinyl where the little spokes are, and that's going to help me figure out where my magnet is going to go, and then I can cut it out and everything. But first, you're going to need a few tools. You're going to need our seam ripper so that we can put our magnets in. You're going to need some sort of tool to be able to cut your holes for the backs of these. I got this tool off of Etsy, and I've got the biggest hole I had on it. That way it just goes, the legs go all the way through. I can link that down below if you guys want it. I've also got some fray check so that the cotton fabric on the inside doesn't fray like crazy. And then I started using E6000. I know a lot of people don't like this because of the toxicity of it, but I go ahead and open it and close it when I need it. And I've got the AC going right now, so hopefully it's not like stifling in my room and I won't die. So E6000 really isn't that bad, guys. You just can't leave it open. Alright, now what are we going to do? I have got all of my bits inside of this thing of double-sided tape. It's just kind of holding all of my pieces together for me. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take the top of our magnet with our spokes facing down, and I'm going to face this towards myself because I want to make sure this is right. Alright, so we're going to go right there in the center of your bag. You're just going to kind of have to eyeball it. And I've kind of got my lines matched up with my lines on my cutting mat so that I can kind of find the center and place my magnet in the center. What I'm going to do is I'm going to push down, and you're also going to need, I always forget something when I'm doing this, you're also going to need some sort of marking tool so that when you lift this up, you can mark those spots immediately so that you can find them. So this is only one layer of vinyl and one layer of cotton, so it shouldn't be too difficult to cut through. Yay! You guys should have seen the howler. Oh my gosh. It's a good wallet. I can't wait for you guys to see it. But alright, that showed up really well. Cool. Alright, so I've got my little spots right there that I'm going to be putting my magnet in. Next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my hole punch. I'm going to put it down right on my hole, and you really want to get through all of those layers. Alright, I've got all the way through my layer so I can see my hand through all these. So you want to make sure that you've got your cotton in your inside layer so that we can put the back up there. Alright, now we're going to put our back piece of our magnet on because we need to make these little lines so that we can add the actual magnet piece on it. So if you're ever in doubt this is the top of your magnet. So there's one hole on the top of your magnet and then two from across each other. So whenever in doubt, just put them like that, take them apart. I have a problem with this sometimes. And then lay it down and match up all of the holes. And that's how I find that it's easiest for me to figure out where I'm supposed to put stuff. So next thing you need to do, you need to make two little marks. Okay, and I'm going to lift that up. Oops. And so I've got my marks there. Now I'm going to need my seam ripper, and I'm going to need to put my hand through the hole and then through the, not through here, you need to go through the very inside hole where your lining is. And you can, here's what I'm going to suggest. I've got my hand where it is between the outside fabric and the lining. So that white one-sided interface is in between those. I've got my hand in between the outside fabric and the white fabric. I'm going to go ahead, because I think I can do it. I'm going to go ahead and put my seam ripper through both of those layers. And that extra layer will be nice when I go to put my magnet in. So just make sure that your holes are big enough. The next thing that we're going to do is grab our male magnet, or our male side of our magnet, and then we're going to put it one-handed. I'm going to put it inside of my back of my magnet, just like that. And then I'm going to match up. I think I moved it around again. Alright, there we go. Make sure that you are matching up your holes so that you're putting it on right. And I'm pushing my magnet legs all the way through, just like that. And then what I'm going to do is I've got my thumb on the inside here. I'm going to take my thumb and hold it down like that. That way everything is staying nice and together. I'm going to pull it through just enough where you can't see it. I'm going to add my washer to the back of my magnet, and then I'm just spreading out the legs so that the magnet will stay in place. And there is absolutely no other way for me to show you this because of where everything is. I don't think I can pull it all the way through. Let me see. Ugh. Okay. There. You can kind of see it. So I put my magnet, my washer on my magnet, and I'm just going to push those legs down. Oh, man. And then pull this back out, and then you can just kind of push the rest of your legs down. Oh, like that. Alright, phew, that was quite the workout. Okay. I just kind of like to push on it like this so that I can make sure that my legs are nice and flat. Alright, now that that part's done, we're going to flip this over, and I am going to match up my spokes to my holes, and then I'm going to kind of smush everything together. You should be able to see the inside of your holes. Ooh. If you can't, and there's material in the way, you can just take your seam ripper and kind of move things out of the way, because some things might be like, the fabric might shift a little bit, and that's okay. Alright, what I like to do, and this is just me, and it's a bit extra, but I like to kind of dry fit all of my screws before I go putting a bunch of glue and a bunch of other stuff inside of it. I just want to make sure that everything is where it needs to be. It would stink to do all that work and then it won't work. So I'm just going to kind of put that one in there. Make sure everything's lining up. I can already tell it's lining up good, so I'm going to take that screw out. I'm going to get my frayed check. Today, Freight Check, today. I'm just going to put a little dab will do ya. And then I'm going to get my E6000. And I'm going to put just a small dab of this onto there. I'm going to put my screw in, and then I'm going to make sure that any excess glue is wiped away so that it doesn't stay on my magnet. So I'm going to put my screw in, and it should stop turning if you've got it in the right spot. Okay. And then I'm just going to take this and wipe that out. Next thing that I'm going to do is grab that top one. Same thing, just going to dry fit it, make sure it works. Okay. Freight check. Alright, so my magnet is all in place. I left it for like 30-40 minutes just to kind of let everything dry, and that way I don't have to worry about my magnet going anywhere. Next thing that we're going to have to do is we're going to have to put the female end on. What I'm going to do is, it is 9 inches across. So I am going to find the center at 4.5. I'm measuring up 2 1/4. And then I found my center at 4.5, and I made my mark right there at 4.5. Then I'm going to grab my washer. I'm going to put it on that mark. Grab my pen. I'm going to put those little marks on the side. And then I'm going to take my seam ripper, and this is where it's going to get a little sketchy. You're going to have to put your hand in just like we did with the other one. So I'm putting it from, you can not even see that. Alright, so I'm putting my hand in here through the lining, the hole that we made earlier, and it's going right down the center. I'm putting my hand through that so that the only layer that I am poking through is the vinyl and the Decovil light. I am not going through the lining. I am going to go just in those 2 marks. Okay. Then I'm going to grab my female end. I'm going to put that in there. Okay. Now again, you're not going to be able to see this. But we gotta put our washer on. So I'm gonna lay this flat, put my hand in there, and then I'm gonna take a picture of this and put it up on the screen so you guys can actually see what actually happened. If I can get it on. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna put my washer on, and I'm gonna push the legs apart. I'll take a picture and I'll post it here so you guys can see it. And then we're going to start closing this up. Alright, so we've got our female end in. Now we need to close this up because we still have our hole on the inside. So you're going to need to make sure that the flaps that are on the back of your card slots are nice and flat, because I know we've moved them around a lot when we've had to turn things inside out, and so I've just kind of gone along with my hand and made sure that they're kind of laying on top of each other like that. We're going to start here. We're going to sew 1/4 inch from this middle seam here. We're going to sew 1/4 inch all the way down, turn around, come back up, and then meet up together. Alright, I have got my stitch length at a 4, and I'm just going to start right on the end and go nice and slow. I've got an 18 needle in, I want to say, still. Alright, so we just have our platform 9 3/4 little change purse. This is where making sure that you're ironing both sides and making sure that the lining fabric is all the way over on both sides, and then pressing on each side is going to come in handy. Especially with these side pieces, you're going to make sure that those are nice and pressed too, so that it'll go together pretty easily. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my side. Let's do it this way. I'm going to line up the side of my wallet and the side of my change pouch. And if you wanted, you could clip these together if it'd be a little bit easier. And of course I have no clips. Then we're going to take this side and put it with our other side. So you can do the top or the bottom first, it doesn't matter. Now, you can do one of two things. You can take this to the sewing machine like we're going to do, and all I'm going to do is at like 1/8 of an inch sew down and making sure that I'm back stitching really well and sew these together. Or you could use a ladder stitch and kind of stitch all of these together just so that it has like a cleaner look, but you'd have to do like this side of your change purse all the way down and then this side of the change purse all the way down. It would be cleaner, but it would take a really long time. So you do you, but we're going to have to do one side at a time. So I'm going to take this to the sewing machine, and from the very bottom to the very top of my side piece here, I'm going to sew at 1/8 of an inch with a 4-stitch length, making sure that I back stitch really well. I would suggest having a nice sturdy needle in there when you go to do this, because that's going to be a lot of layers. Just making sure it's nice and sturdy. Also, hang on to the tail ends of your thread so that you can pull it through. And then I'm going to back stitch. Okay. Pull your threads through, and then we'll go to the next side. Alright, so this side is going to be tight. It's supposed to be tight so that it does that a little accordion thing and keeps your wallet, you know, taut. So it's just going to be kind of tight to get this put together. Also forgot to mention, your zipper should be opening to the right and closing to the left. I did it on accident, so yay. But if you do it backwards, it's no big deal. You can just pick that out and redo it again, or you can leave it. It's your wallet. You do you. So I'm going to put my zipper in the middle just so that it's out of the way. And then I'm going to start at the back, and I'm going to connect these two. And you're going to have to kind of like finagle it because it's not going to want to do what it needs to do. Bring this side over. And it's going to be tight and it's going to fight with you, but you just kind of have to fight back. Alright, there we go. Now this time I guess I'm starting from this side. You have to just push all these layers out of the way so you can do what you need to do. Pull all your threads through, and then we'll look at the finished product. Alright guys, so what did you think? I hope you guys liked this video. It was a wallet pattern that I had made a while back, and I tried my hand at printing my own fabric and trying to make these, but Kim and Alex helped me figure everything out and made it just amazing, especially with the stamp actually being the magnet itself. It made that element more of a 3D element, and it just made it really stand out and really look really nice. Hopefully for you guys it was easy, so if it wasn't, I'm sorry. I was trying to keep it easy, especially after the Howler wallet and the Howler purse. Those were doozies. So I was trying to keep this one nice and simple, so I hope you guys liked it. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, you can give it a thumbs up, or if you want to subscribe so that you don't miss any of the other Harry Potter things that we're doing. There are 6 in this round. There are a lot. We have been working on this stuff for over a year and making sure that everything's right for you guys. So I hope you guys liked it. I hope you subscribe so that you won't miss anything. And I hope you guys will please make sure that you show us your goodies when you get them done on your own. When you get your panels and you get them all done, make sure that you go to K&A Custom Fabrics and show off your goodies. We want to see them. We love, especially you guys, oh my goodness, the work that we have put into this round. Kim, Alex, and I are exhausted from this Harry Potter round because we were trying so hard to make them awesome. We want to see them loved, and we cannot wait to see you guys post your pictures and show us that you guys have made them. It really, seriously guys, it makes our day when we're able to see you guys put everything together. So hopefully you guys will post your pictures because we want to see, because we're nosy. Anyway, also, if you're working on your project and you don't want to have to watch the video to be able to put your bag together, there are written instructions. So if you want the written instructions, they will be in a link down below in the description section, and all of that will be down there for you. I've taken step-by-step pictures, described everything, like hopefully like I did on the video, and all of the measurements and everything will be on that as well. So if you want to purchase the written instructions, they're there for you. Anyway, I hope you guys like this one because, whew, it's been a long year. Anyway, thanks for joining us again on Faith Works Designs. Bye, guys.